Step into greatness with a champion mindset. This is more than a book launch. It's a breakthrough. From the mind of a true champion, Kenny Randall presents The Champion Mindset. His journey, his wisdom, his voice, unleashed. Get ready for the signature talk that's changing lives. Because when Kenny Randall speaks, champions rise.
Yeah. So I got some grace coming here with the 5. So you got 5 elements. It's not all. We actually have 8. Okay? I actually have 8, but I'm going to give you 5. And I can't give them to you in depth because of time. So I give you enough that I think maybe just whet your appetite a little bit, and you'll know a little bit more about me. I want to read something to you as I start. And I pulled this out because it was important to me. My last book, I didn't get an opportunity to talk about somebody who was real important to me. And that was my high school football and track coach. So we didn't get it in the book. But this time I got it in the book. Amen. And so I'm not going to read the entire, but I highlighted some pieces I wanted you to hear. And his name was Coach Charlie Lee. He lives in Missouri. And he went on from high school to go and coach at University of Texas, coach at the Denver Broncos, won a Super Bowl at Denver Broncos on the staff, and then he went to Liberty, Missouri to kind of keep working. He's still working. He never stops working. Okay. And championships aren't just won on the field. They're forged in the quiet moments when no one is watching. There are no crowds, bright lights, or trophies in sight. They're built in the unseen hours. You see, I'm getting a little emotional here. It's taking me back. In the unseen hours, in the sacrifices, in the discipline, and the willingness to push past the breaking point. And behind every championship team, every great player, there's a coach who refuses to let them settle for anything less than their best. For me, that coach was Charlie Lee. Now let me share something with you. I think this lines up with what I'm saying. Because to him, talent wasn't the deciding factor. Execution was. He conditioned us to seize the moment. How many know it's important to seize the moment? To refuse to settle for just enough when the game got tough. He made sure we understood that success wasn't about how much or how little ability you had. It was about how hard you were willing to work and how far you were willing to push. Whether you would allow yourself to be conditioned to your maximum ability. If you did, you would win. Coach Lee taught us that adversity would come on the field and in life. And there would be opponents who tried to get in our heads. Problems at home pressing us. Challenges that made quitting seem like the easiest choice. But quitting was never an option. He taught us how to face those challenges head on. How to push through the pain. How to keep moving forward, no matter what stood in our way. He never cared who you were or what your background was. He didn't care if you were the most naturally gifted athlete or the last man on the bench. He ignored cries for mediocrity, fatigue, or excuses. If you were willing to put in the work, he would push you past your limits into a version of yourself you didn't even know existed. Champions aren't just about lifting the trophy at the end of the season. They're about the mindset that it takes to get there. The relentless pursuit of excellence. The refusal to give into pain, doubt, or fear. The knowledge that every ounce of effort, every extra rep, every brutal practice in preparing for the moment when it's all on the line. Lastly, Coach Lee believed in execution over talent, in heart over hype, and grit over gifts. And because of that, he didn't just coach players. He created champions. That was my coach, Charlie Lynn. You can give a hand. So, a lot of that mindset brought me into my sports world in the neighborhood that I lived in, and the people in that neighborhood. I came from a rough neighborhood. It really was, and I had a single mother that had to take care of 4 kids. And, but not to give you too much background because it would take us too long to talk about. I got so many stories I'd love to share with you. But because of that, I learned certain ways. My mindset was set as an athlete going into in college. You know, I was a 3-time 400-meter champion in the state of Missouri, 2 times 200-meter champion in the state of Missouri, All-American. Went to USC on a football scholarship. My first year at USC, went 12-0 as a freshman. I was on the team, and we were national champions. And the story behind that is amazing. It's really amazing. And the Lord was in that too. So I got to tell you right now, if talking about God or talking about the Lord makes you feel uncomfortable, and those of you that are virtual, you know, bear with me. Because God is always the place we're most uncomfortable. He lives in the uncomfortable. He does. It reminds me of a story, and I saw a friend of mine come in the door. I don't know if she's still here or not. Yes, here. We were at a meeting many years ago, and this guy was a very successful speaker, very wealthy speaker. And he gets up in front of the crowd. He tells this story. He did big coliseums and spoke in big coliseums and would pack the house out. And people would just want to be in his presence just to hear his wisdom. So he said after he got to speaking one time on the platform, he said he was talking about kind of how God was working to help him build his business. So he said, I got through speaking, and everybody had left the arena almost, but this one guy was waiting down on the edge of the stage, and he had his arms folded, he was patting his foot. Like he was disturbed. Like he was wondering, why is that happening? You know, and he said to the guy, and the guy said, well, that was a good speech. He said, but I can't believe you used God in talking about building a business. And he politely said, well, I don't see how you can build a business without God. That was the end of that story. See, I don't see how you can do what you do. I can't speak for everybody else. I can only speak for what's been done in my business, what's been done in my sports life, what's been done in my ministry life, which we're not talked about. But God had specific steps and phases for me to go through to get there. And the last thing I thought I would be doing is doing what I'm doing right now. How many feel that same way in your life? Yeah. The very thing you thought you wouldn't do, you're doing. The very place you thought you would be, you're at. But that's just how the Lord works. Okay? So guess what? Champions are not born. Somewhat they are. They're kind of born. There's an innate ability that many have. But a lot of times it's not been ferreted out. It's not been pushed out. They're built. Champions are built. They're built by the very things I just got through reading to you. And guess what? They're not just sports champions. I want to make sure. I had someone ask me, well, is this meeting going to be for men? I said, no. I said, bring the women on. I said, because some of the mindset that I was able to lock in really came from my mother. And I thought about it today. I was thinking about my mother today. She was an entrepreneur that didn't have any guidance. She was. We lived in a 2.5-story home. And she wanted, my sister told me, she actually wanted to buy an apartment building down on the corner. But we didn't have enough money for her to do it. So she couldn't get it. So you know what she did? She took our house and made it like an apartment building. We had a renter downstairs on the basement. We had a renters upstairs. A family stayed up in the attic. Okay, lived up there, whole family. And then sometimes she would rent out the east side of the house to a renter. I just thought about it this morning. See, she had the mindset of a champion. She was the first champion in my life. You know, and I like starting a lot of things. I like starting, I'm very inquisitive. You know, I've always been since a little boy. I was always inquisitive to see how things work. Now, how does this work? How does that work? How does this work? How does that work? And I saw all these little clips and films of kids in the Boy Scouts and Cub Scouts, and they would take the stick and the flint rocks, and they would take a little string and create and start a fire. That kind of deal. Yeah. Well, I tried to do that one day underneath my back porch. And we had a wooden back porch that went up to the stairs, right? And I was working real hard trying to make this fire come up. And it wasn't coming up fast enough. So I went and got some lighter fluid. And I helped the fire, help it come a little bit. Now, I'm going to tell you how, now, don't laugh at me too hard. Because how many of you, and I thought I put the fire out. But for some reason, I thought I put it out, and I ran up the stairs, and I remember coming through our back room into the kitchen, and I planted myself against the refrigerator. And my family said, "What's wrong with you?" My mother asked the second time, "What's wrong with you?" And she looked out, and she saw smoke billowing. She said, "He set the back porch on fire." Well, let me tell you something. Thank God for fire chiefs. Because my mother whipped me from the time she knew there was a fire to the time she called the fire chief. And he came in and he said, "Ma'am, you got to stop beating that boy." And she told him, she gave that patent mother answer. "Listen, I brought him into this world." She said, "And I'll take him out of this world." So there were two fires set that day. The fire I set and the fire she set. And I know the wood in no way felt as bad as I felt. But I love that fire department chief when he came in there and pulled that woman off of me. I remember that wooden coat hanger. And they don't do that anymore. But champions are not born. They're made through sacrifice, through circumstances, through victories, through losses, through great things, through small things in our lives. Sometimes we don't even recognize our losses as lessons. Not when we're younger. No, we really don't. So let's talk about choices. Because that's the first chapter in the book. Choices. See, champions. Now I want to say this. Champions make choices, but guess what? Everybody makes choices. What's the difference between champion choices and other choices? Champions make the best possible choices with the right information that they possibly can. And if they make the wrong choice, they own it and they're quick to correct it. People who are not don't. Because they want to hurry up and answer the call if they make a wrong choice and move forward. You know, Nick Saban said this. Football coach, Alabama won all those championships. He said champions choose to do the things they need to versus the things they want to. The things they need to versus the things they want to. See, there's a lot of things I didn't want to do. Whether it be through coming through sports, through corporate America, even in ministry. But my need to outweighed my want to. See, a lot of people live in their want tos. Oh, I want to do this, and oh yeah, I want to do that, and oh yeah, I want to do this over here. But when you get to a point where your need to outweighs your want to, then you're moving in the champion mindset corridor. Because that means now you're convicted about what you have to do. See, I found this about success. You don't build success at your convenience. You build success at your inconvenience. You're going to have to be inconvenienced to be successful. I've never done anything unless I was willing to be inconvenienced. So some of the things I remember, there's a lot of them, but I remember most poignant ones in my life that I can say, what were the big key ones that you can remember as it relates to what I have in that book? Well, one is that what really changed me were three things: my wins, my losses, and my lessons. My wins, my losses, and my lessons. See, my wins. What set me on the map? I almost went back to what was happening sports-wise in high school, but I thought I would go up a little bit at college. And for 2 years, I had the fastest time in the world in my event. And before all that happened, what really put me on the map was there was a runner from another competitive school that had the fastest time in the world the previous year. He talked all the time about how great he was, about what he was going to do, and how he was going to do it. Any athletes, former athletes in here? Any? Amy even likes sports. Okay, you like sports. Okay, good. And so what happened was I calculated how I could beat him. I didn't say a word. I just measured myself time and time again, workout after workout. I saw little changes and shifts. And here's what shifted me. I got a coach from Jamaica. Some of you heard this. His name was Leo Davis. And he had his accent. I didn't even tell Garth this. And he said, Kenny, man, you got to run. You got to learn to run this. He said, because as you run it, you have to realize that it is a journey and not a destination. He told me it was a journey, not a destination, so it would take my mind off the distance. Take my mind off the work I had to do to get to the next place. But what most importantly he taught me how to do was run the curve. See, we're taught when we grow up or we come up as children all the way, aren't we taught to slow down when we get to a curve? Aren't we? You got to slow down when you get to the curve. You got to slow down to get to the curve. Well, he taught me how to run the curve. And I was open to that because that's what I did when I was in school. So when that meet came by, I told myself, I said, I'm going to run this curve, and guess what? He will not catch me. So when we came to the curve, I had about a 1 foot lead. And I came all the way down the straightaway, and we had a 1 foot race all the way down 110 meters right next to me. And when I hit the tape, it was the fastest time in the world. That year. Well, see, that set me. See, now I had elevated to this champion status, and I had to keep it. He said, well, it'll never happen again. He'll never do it again. Well, next time we made the championships, I took him from behind and ran him down. So he said, well, he's a force to be reckoned with now, right? Now that victory itself put me in a status, a world-class status that now I had to deal with. See, there's places that I believe the Lord wants to put you in. Whether it be world-class status or whether it be just be notability, whether it be responsibility that you're going to have to step into. Because see, a champion mindset, it's the champion, that how the champion responds is more important than what the champion does. How you respond to adversity is way more important, okay, than you're going to have it, because you're going to have it. Anybody have any adversity in here? I know y'all don't have any. Oh, okay. I want to make sure I'm not by myself. Okay, good. I told you then another one was a loss. So it was my senior year. I was going to the Olympic trials. I had won the NCAA 400-meter championships in the 400. I almost fell on the backstretch because I had a bad leg. But you know what I found out about champions? They don't make excuses. They just keep building and keep going. And I told a few people about the fact that I had that leg was bothering me all year. Because I came down the backstretch in the championships and almost buckled and fell. But I ran fast enough to win it, and I had the fastest time. And I couldn't slow down because I had tendonitis, and tendonitis you can only cure by stop running. And I couldn't stop running because we were going to the Olympic trials. So going to Olympic trials, I was trying to figure out what I can do. Can I swim? Can I do anything to have enough strength? Because I had to run 4 races at the Olympic trials. And I had the fastest time in the world. And they were already saying, well, he's going to probably meet so-and-so from Cuba in the Olympic Games. And I thought about the Olympics, talk about mindset. I thought about it when I was a freshman in high school and had not even won anything. Had never even won a championship, had not even won the state. I thought about one day standing on that victory stand, hearing the national anthem of the U.S. See, so mindset's important. How you think about things is so important. So guess what? I didn't even get out of the trials with the leg. Had people beat me that I beat all year. And so I left the Olympic trials with all that hype, all that expectation, and then I had to tuck my tail and go somewhere else. So I remember I did this. I went to Arizona to get away from everything. My sister was living in Arizona. I went to her place, and my ex-high school coach was now coaching at the University of Arizona. And I never forget this. The 400 meters was coming on, and these guys were going on victory stand, and I'm whining kind of under my breath, they just, and that same coach I just read about, I told you how he was. And I never forget what he told me. He said, shut up. He said, get up. He said, go forward. He said, shut up, get up, and go forward. You got one more year in football. Make it work. That one more year, made it work. We went 11-1 in my football team. I got drafted by the Cleveland Browns. First offensive player selected and went to Cleveland. See, sometimes you need someone to tell you, shut up. No, I'm being serious. We need that sometimes. Someone needs to tell us, shut up. Get up, go forward. So I shut up, I got up, and I went forward. And didn't look back on it. Didn't talk about what could have been, what should have been, how I should have worked out. I kept going. And that's kind of how I've always lived my life. I try not to stay or dwell in places in the valley too long. Because I've had valley places. Anybody heard valley places? Mm-hmm. I just don't stay there long. I don't build a house there. I don't build no condominium project and get off the road and build a condominium at Pathetic Me, and then I build a condo. No, I get on back on the road and I just keep going. So champions make choices. But here's what also champions do. Champions have great habits. Great habits. Champions live in great habits. See, one of the things that I believe habits will always overcome, there's been people that in corporate America, or maybe in your jobs, in your places that you work, in ministries maybe you're a part of, guess what? I told myself that no one would ever outwork me. When I came to the company I just retired from 2 years ago, a friend of mine's in the back room, we both worked at that company. I'd be people that come in, they'll be smarter than me. There'll be people who come in there, have tools and abilities greater than me. But I told myself that no one would ever outwork me. That was my mindset. See, we talk about David and Goliath, right? But you know, we like to talk about David. We talk about David in the sense that he fought the bear and he fought the lion, you know, and then he killed Goliath. But no one ever talks about the fact that David was a slinger. That David knew how to throw the sling, and you don't show up in the valley and beat a giant just because you just picked up the sling like last week. You bought it at the corner store and picked up a sling. So I think I'll start trying this. No, he practiced it and did it because he came from a tribe that did it. And a really great slinger could hit something 100 yards away. See, it was David's habits. It was his, how are your habits? How are your habits to take down your giants? This is going to take some habits to take down your giant. Now, I know he was anointed, and I know the God directed him and all that, but guess what? He still had great habits. Why he was writing songs. Why he was creating music. Because he didn't even go down there to kill him. He went down there. But you know what? And people won't share the fact. He asked, what is the reward? See, what's the incentive? What's the reward for killing Goliath? And they told him, well, you know, you get the king's daughter's hand in marriage. You'll get land appointed to you in the kingdom. And you don't pay any taxes. Now, you know what? That David was inspired. He was inspired because of the habits that he said, wait a minute now. He said, where is this uncircumcised Philistine that would dare defy the armies of the living God? Where is he at? Let me at him. See, he had a target to shoot at because of his habits. I tell young people all the time, they want to know what's the key to greatness. I said some of the greatest people I've ever been around, I've been around a lot of great ones, has been their habits. It's not been their intellect. It's not been their smarts. It's not been their education. It's been their habits. So outside the habits, okay, the next is the A in champion. That's attitude. You've heard it before. Your attitude determines your altitude. But see, your attitude also affects your mindset. Now, what's your attitude? Oh, gosh. Attitude. You know, I was, as I said, I went to this company that was just kind of starting when I joined it almost 30 years ago. And I had no idea. There was no salary. Straight commission. Nobody ever even heard of the industry. But see, I believe what qualified me to go there is when I told you winning, right? Then I told you a loss, right? Yeah. Now I'm telling you a lesson. And the Lord sent me out into the wilderness. I went to a wilderness place. Oh yeah, I had a great job. Oh yeah, I had great profile, great pedigree, all that was happening. But I got thrown into the wilderness where I had no money, broke, unemployment, trusting God, listening to people that had great faith. They had great faith. He believed by faith, the people I was listening to, and how God took business people, and because they were willing to put their faith in him, how he was able to take them to a place they had never been. And I remember saying, that's what I want. Even though my car blew up, even though my car was repossessed, even though we lost our house, I'm talking about certain years went by. See, and so it was a desert place, but I knew when it was spoken that I had an opportunity, I would seize the moment. And it didn't even look like an opportunity. And years gone by from going into that privately held company, it went public when I was in my 7th year. Okay? And I can't even think about what it was. Maybe a $25 million company when I started. I don't know what the number is. I don't know what it was. I just know 2 years ago when I left, it was $6.2 billion. And I knew God sent me here. I knew in the interview, when I spent the first 15 minutes talking about the job and the rest 30 minutes talking about the Lord, then I didn't bring him up. Person interviewing brought me up. I walked out of the meeting. I came down the hallway. God met me in the hallway. Said, "Hey, you interviewing for a job?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "You believe in prayer?" I said, "What?" He said, "You believe in prayer?" I said, "Yeah, I believe in prayer." He said, "Then go home, get with your wife, pray about this. If the Lord says take it and run with it." That was kind of like, shut up, get up, and go forward. So I did. And I saw him at the National Sales Convention. And I was in his room one night. They were getting all the accolades. He was one of the top persons in the company. I said, "Tell me what the key to your success is." He said, "You really want to know?" I said, "Yeah, I want to know." He said, "It's the Lord." I said, "Okay, yeah, I get it, man." I said, "Okay, no, I get that." I said, "I know, I believe in God too. I get that." I said, "So, no, tell me." He said, "You mean you want to know the silver bullets?" I said, "Yeah, I want to know the silver bullets." He said, "It's the Lord." I said, you gotta help me with that." He said, "I'm going to ask you something. This is the most powerful thing that I learned as I took in my business career. I never let go of this." He said, "Have you made the Lord your senior partner in business?" Y'all hear what I just said? Not do you believe in him, not do you know him, but have you brought him in and made him your senior partner, that he has the last word on what you do. And you don't have the last word on what. That's what they do in law firms. They have senior partners, they have junior partners, but a senior partner has the last say so. And I said, "I'm going to give you the last say so." And little did I know that he was going to elevate me in that business. I was a regional vice president for 12 years in the company. I went from that time I told you, car catching on fire, putting pennies on the altar, just giving everything I had in this little storefront church. And my wife thought I was nuts. She was mad at me too. Not only she thought I was crazy, she was mad at me. I can't go into details because no, I can't. But she was mad at me because she saw me being more than what I was. She knew I was more than what I was. In fact, that first book wouldn't have come in if it hadn't been for my wife's son. She's the one that told me to write the book. Okay? So now I go from there and the attitude and then the mindset. Okay? That's the M. Okay? And champ. Mindset. Mindset's everything. You know, I love telling stories. I got so many of them. I was telling Tyler Pearson when I came in. He's one of the master referral network people I've ever met. Yeah, he's in this room. He's one of the greatest masters of networking. You know, so much he started a company within our company. We tried to hide it. It got so big we could no longer hide it. And he was the brainchild of it. And I don't know where eventually we did, but it did tremendous revenue. And so anyway, I just got drafted by the Cleveland Browns. And I was out in Los Angeles working out. And this guy was with the Dallas Cowboys. He was a receiver of the Dallas Cowboys. He had been in the Super Bowl the previous year. I think that was, yeah. And he caught the winning touchdown in the Super Bowl. I said, "I'm getting ready to go to training camp." He said, "Where?" I said, "What can you tell me to do?" He says, "Kenny, when you go to training camp, here's what I want you to do. Act like you own it." So when you go, act like you own this and you're not coming back. So I took him literally. I'm from Kansas City, Missouri. I stopped in Kansas City. I saw my mother. I got me a big steamer trunk. Those big trunks you used to have in steamer trunks. I put everything in it that I own, which didn't even fill the steamer trunk halfway. So I show up at training camp with the steamer truck, and all the ball players were there. They said, "Man, what are you doing?" What did you bring that big old trunk for? Why you? He said, because I'm staying, and I don't know how many of you are leaving. Because I plan on staying. Guess what? I didn't stay. But my mindset was to stay. So I took that mindset from there, and I finally left football and went into corporate America. I went to work for IBM Corporation. Yeah, this jock athlete. To pit myself against people that were topping their class in Stanford, topping their class at MIT, topping their class in everywhere. But the Lord had put so much of mindset in me, I knew I could compete some way, somehow. So my mindset, what's your mindset? I know the scripture, about having the mind of Christ. I know by greater is he that is in me than he that is in the world. But having the mind of Christ, just having the mind of Christ, but having Christ live in you and working it out and walking it out is a little bit different story. So that's the mindset. Lastly, is perspective. Perspective. Not perception. See, perception is how people perceive you. Perspective is how you see things. How do you see you? How do you see what you can do as a champion? See, this is not a book launch to me. This is not a place to come and sell books and make some money sell this. That's the least on my, and Johnny knows that. I wanted to create an experience. And because of that, we're creating a champion huddle experience. It's a champion huddle experience. How do you see it? You see greatness? See, there's 3 types of people in this room. It always is. Those who were champions, they're trying to get their edge back. Those who are champions, but looking, what can I do to enhance myself? What can I do to get sharper? What can I do to get better? And those who desire to be champions. I've done this talk in 3 different places. I've done it at a high school. I've done it in a big church in Kansas City. I've done it in Milwaukee, over 300 corporate executives. Who do you think was my toughest crowd? Oh no, that was the easiest crowd. Who do you think was my toughest crowd? A high school. Because they'll tell you what they think. They'll fall asleep on you right there in your face. And then laugh. But they'll be brutally honest. They didn't say shut up, get up, and go forward. But I was really amazed by how well they received it. Because they really want more. They're just looking for a sounding board, gays. They're looking for a sounding board, someone they can trust, someone they can talk to. And if you're out there today and you're listening in, let me share something with you. There's more on the menu for you. There's more on the menu. So as I close this out, I'm closing right now. Right? Am I out of time? Almost. Okay, good. I'm doing okay. You know, I thought about it, and as Johnny said, this is just really the beginning. Okay, this is the beginning. Because there's so much more that I believe that we have. You know, the champ within. Everyone in here has a champion inside of them. Wanting to break out. Wanting to get out. Okay? Trying to bust loose. Trying to come into place. Trying to come into position. And that's my role. I've always been about bringing out the best. I've always been about encouraging people to their max. Even when I've got in the streets here sharing the gospel with people. My desire is that they come up. My desire is that they be changed. Same thing in corporate America. My desire is what that business owner would get what he or she's trying to accomplish. If I could help them get it, then I'm doing my ministry. See, it's all about ministry to me. So I'm marketplace and I'm ministry. So when you see me, you're getting all of it. And I thank God because he's allowed me to walk through these different phases of sports, of corporate, and ministry. And I can bring them all together or use them separately or however he wants me to use them to be able to help people. Because this is all about serving and helping people. What we do, I don't care what you do, it's about serving people. How you do it, it's about helping people. So, Johnny mentioned about something that I had for you. I have an offer for you. I'm going to just give it to you, whether you receive it or not, it's okay. I'm doing a workshop from these 5 pieces I talked about. I'm going to do an actual workshop, kind of a one-on-one workshop with a group of people. And I'm doing it because here's what I know. Many of you will buy the book, and I thank you for buying the book, but you're not going to really read it through in detail. See, in the back of the chapters, there's a workbook. In the back of the chapters, I got questions. Many of you will probably just go past the questions. Say, that's nice, that's cool, I like that. But when I do the workshop, we're going to go through the questions. Because I want to help you become the champion in whatever you're trying to be that champion in. And you know what I found about champions? It's not big stuff. Someone say it's not big stuff. It's the little things that make the difference. I got a picture in my office of Tiger Woods when he's at his top of his game. He's got a golf club, and his golf club is up like this. He's got Butch Harmon, who was his golf coach at that time, with a pointer pointing at his elbow. That meant to me that even champions need a coach. I coached a guy who was a CEO of a small company a couple years ago, and you know what he told me? He said, Kenny, I've never had a coach. He was successful, he said, but I never had a coach. He said, I want a coach. So what I'm doing with this workshop is coaching you. The workshop is $147, I believe, for the workshop. I'm chuckling because that's not a lot of money. Now, it may be a lot of money to try to dig up if you need some more money. But here's how I look at that. And I'm serious now. If you put your life's work, and you're able to codify it and bring it together and put it in a book, it's kind of like a legacy book. Everything that you went through kind of had gone through and gone past and been under, and put it in a book, what would that book be worth to you? How much should you charge for that book? I'm talking about your life work. What would you charge for it? $10? $20? $200? $2,000? $5,000? I believe it's worth it. Because I'm looking to do a course probably 6 months from now. And taking the course to corporations and taking the course, and it's going to be called Transition Like a Champion. How to transition like a champion. I am so excited to have you here. So, champ. Choices, habits, attitude, mindset, and perspective. I just hang on that perspective because you got to have your perspective of your convictions. Certain convictions should never change when the world's trying to make you change everything. But you got to hold on, you got to hold tight, and don't let go. I appreciate you. I'm Kenny Randall. Thank you very much.
The message has been delivered. The mindset has been unlocked. And now the mission continues with you. This isn't the end, it's the ignition. The Champion Mindset by Kenny Randall is more than a book. It's a blueprint for elevation. So walk with power, speak life, move bold, win daily, because Kenny Randall didn't just share his story. He passed the torch. And champions don't wait. They rise.